Hey traders, it's 45 minutes past 11 a.m. here in Brisbane on Monday, the 22nd of April, and I'm looking for a couple of sparring match with the US dollar. So we're seeing some strength in the US dollar, and basically what I'm looking for is a bit of a pullback, really some of that buying pressure and a continuation. However, it all depends of where the market is, and I actually prefer a deeper pullback in most cases because we already moved quite a lot. So I want to start here with dollar CAD, and the level that I'm watching for is in and around the 136.20. Now, a couple of elements about dollar CAD that I like and couple but not as much. So I like the break. I like the fact that we pinged above it. Yes, we rejected it, but we printed a higher low and then broke very strongly here to another higher high. So that is a nice push from that level. But if we'll take a look here on the weekly, what we can see is that this high that we printed, we cleared this spike, but not this one, and we're already sitting quite high up in this big range that this market has been in the last couple of months, or really, I should say, almost 2 years now. So if we'll take a look at this area, we can see we're quite overextended. So what I'm looking for is that reaction to that level. So from the fight card point of view, I'm looking for a pullback into this area, maybe even a little bit lower, could be a take it on the way out. But the first area that I'm looking for, the area for the point swing, is going to be here at the end of this first push. There's a couple of reasons for that, because if we'll start to see a deeper pullback, if we'll get a reaction to that level, it might still give a little bit of a bounce off that level. The other thing is, if we'll take a look at how we're pulling back, it looks like we're also creating a level over here. So that might be a hard ask for the buyers in the first go to be able to break. It all depends on how we pull back and how we react to that level. But my point swing is going to be here around the 1.3690. If the move would look strong, then I will still look for that knockout area, and that's going to be here around the 1.3765 area. So I like this push and I like the area and the level, but there are a couple of things here that if I end up getting into this match, I need to still watch my defense and watch how the market is moving in the ring. The next one on my fight list is going to be euro dollar. Now, with euro dollar, what I like about this move, and let's just move here into the daily, is that we can see this strong push that we had here. We had a push, a bit of consolidation that went to a lower low and then another push lower. I like the area, and this one is a bit more of a deeper pullback. I like the 1.08. Once we broke through that level, we haven't tested that yet. So I'm looking for the market to give me a deeper pullback, really a pullback in the context of the weekly, back into that 1.08. So if we'll take a look quickly on the weekly chart, we can see we're back into a downtrend, but we're quite overextended. So I want to see a bit of a strength coming in from the buyers. We can see we are down into this area that managed to push to a high and a higher high. So I do expect some sort of buyers coming up here. And if they have some strength into them, I would love the market to pull back into that 1.08. So the first area that I'm looking for my point swing is just at the end of this first move. And if we'll take a look here on the 4 hours, so we'll get to see the reason why from the 4 hours. So we can see that this is pretty much the end of the sharp push that broke that level. So in and around this area, or even potentially a little bit lower, so somewhere around here. So the areas that I'm looking at is in and around the 1.0740, and that would be my point swing. The knockout, I'm looking just before the areas that this one has started to turn. So it's going to be here around the 1.0670 area. So to summarize the euro dollar, I'm looking for a deeper pullback here, so more in the context of the weekly chart. I'm looking for my offense line to be in and around the 1.08. My first points win is going to be at the 1.0740 area, so after this big push, and my points win in and around the 1.0670. So that is euro dollar. A similar scenario is the pound versus the US. So looking at the pound versus the US, I'm again looking for that deeper pullback, and it's a pullback in the context of the weekly chart. Now, with this one, there are two areas that I'm after. The first one, and it's still a deeper pullback, however, this one has already been tested, is around the 1.2570 area. The second one sits around here, the 1.2610 area. So between here, this is the pullback that I'm looking at. So this is once again a pullback in the context of the weekly. So if we'll take a look here on the weekly and zoom in a little bit, we can see those lines around here. So with the higher one, the 1.2610, it's going to be a bit more of a deeper pullback. And then there is the lower one around the 1.2570. So if and when we will pull back into that area, we'll also be releasing this overextension over here. So we'll be back into the averages. So I like those areas. I prefer the higher level. It hasn't been tested yet, but it's a very deep pullback, so we might not get it. So coming back and going lower into the 4 hours, let's take a look at the fight card. So what I'm looking for in this one, depending on where I'm going to get my trigger, where I'm going to get my setup, either on this level or the higher one, is really where the point swing sits, because this area, which is just before this line and this touches over here, it's a little bit too close to this level, so it might not be worth it, depending again on how we pull back. But if I get the trigger, if I get a reason to start striking, then the area for the point swing is going to be through that move that we're seeing here. So it's either going to be somewhere around the 125.30 area. So let me just move this light green line somewhere around here to the top green line around the 125.50. But the knockout area, I'm going to keep at the end of this move. So once again, just before the beginning of this pullback, in and around the 124.80 area. So to summarize pound US, I am looking at two levels in this case. So either the lower level here that has been tested on the way down, or a deeper one, which is the 126.10 area, hasn't been tested, but this is also quite a big pullback, so we might not get it. The point swing is going to be in the area between these two green lines, and the knockout is at this pink line around the 124.80 level. Lastly, I want to take a look at dollar yen. So this is quite a long video, but there's a lot going on, and it was quite an interesting week from an intraday point of view, especially Friday. But here we're looking at swing trading, and we're looking for higher time frame opportunities. So I need to wait for those pullback of these big moves to happen into an area of high probability offense. So with dollar yen, and I want to jump straight into the weekly here, we can see those highs, we can see that level. It's a very nice level. We consolidated underneath it, and then we broke sharply higher. The reason why I didn't want to look at this one as a potential setup was all fundamental, because there was a lot of hints from the Bank of Japan and Japanese officials that are very unhappy with the current exchange rate, and they will step in to defend their currency. So I didn't want to go in a spar with a market that have the backing of a central bank behind it. So that's why I let this one go. And this is why I also am in two minds about this potential fight. So I like the technical on this chart, but I am being wary of the fundamentals behind it. So I'm looking here for a pullback into that 152. It's a beautiful level on the higher time frame, on the daily here as well. But once again, I know that the Bank of Japan is very uncomfortable with the current exchange rate. So if we take a look here on the 4 hours, what this one might end up being is a simple bounce of a level. So if I get that bounce, I'll be looking to be out somewhere around the 152.90. So at the end of this strong push that we had over here, you can see that we had another consolidation. It was another nice setup, once again quite high, and then we broke higher once again, and we're consolidating here again. We're doing something similar, but again, I am not feeling the buzz to get into the ring with a market that could potentially have the backing of the central bank in their corner. So I like dollar yen, but keep in mind where we're sitting. So we might get a nice pullback. And if we get that nice pullback, I might be able to have a reaction to that level. But it could also be a very quick on the lower time frame type of reaction. So I thought I'll mention this while I'm looking at US dollar crosses, but I'm not looking for a long spar with this particular market. So this has been a rather longer video with a couple of fight cards in it, but it's very exciting to finally have those potential fights on the list. Happy knockouts, everyone. Bye for now.